Hey guys, before we start, I just want to let everybody know we started a brand new Twitter account. Tyler mainly takes over that, so go check it out. We talk obviously sports all the time. It's weekly underscore insider underscore. It's going to be tagged in the description below. Go give that a follow if you got a Twitter account. Oh, there it is. Go check it out. We only got 4 followers, so go help us out. Go hit that follow button and maybe start a debate with us on Twitter. So
Mhm.
without any further ado, let's hop right into the episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Weekly Insider with Tyler and Josh. Today we got we got big news with the draft coming up. There's a big
Mhm.
trade that actually just happened a few days ago. We're gonna talk about the off-season grades. I guess we're not really gonna go over grades. We're gonna go over what we thought was good. What are the tiers you
Good,
have?
bad. I've got great, good, average, bad, and failed.
Okay, so we're gonna go over those of each team. We're not gonna get like crazy into detail. We're just gonna kind of give our opinion. But without any further ado, let's hop right into it.
Yeah, so obviously the big draft trades, the 49ers making a move for the future, trading up from 12 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we saw Wilson's pro day. He's going number 2.
Dude,
Uh,
honestly, Zach Wilson is gonna be insane, dude.
so he's going number 2 to the Jets, or even number 1 at maybe. Who knows what the Jags are going to do? But Lawrence and Wilson will be 1-2. Um, so 49ers get their choice of probably, I would assume, Trey Lance or Justin Fields. So don't know who will go where, but which one they'll take, but assuming they'll get one of those two. So I like that move for the 49ers. You know, they have a very good roster. Super Bowl 2 years
Oh
ago. They
yeah,
haven't had much turnover since then. Um, so they have a team that can get to them there, make them competitive right now.
yeah.
And obviously Jimmy G is probably the weak point of that team. So they're now going to have their guy that can sit for a year, learn the system, and both of those guys can move. So those are guys where you put them in a offense with George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, a very good running game, a good offensive line. Those
Mm-hmm.
are guys that are going to be able to make plays,
Yeah, they're.
either Lance or Fields.
I would say Debo Samuel's a great receiver too for them. So
Yeah, Samuel Ayuk looked really good after the catch. They have guys that are
Ayuk, yeah,
good.
Brandon Ayuk, yeah.
So I like that move for the 49ers.
Who in your opinion you taking Fields or Trey Lance?
So if I'm the 49ers, knowing that I have a year to learn, I'm taking Trey Lance.
I was actually thinking the same thing.
I think he has a higher upside. So people think that he's kind of that Patrick Mahomes, like kind of tier, I guess, as far as potential because he has a very strong arm, but he's such a good like playmaker out of the pocket.
Yeah.
His issue is that he has 1 year as a starter, and it was at FCS level. So he's going to be very raw. So that's the type of guy where you want to take and give him a year, even maybe 2 years to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But he has that high upside, almost like Jordan Love with the Packers. Whereas Fields, I think, can kind of come in right now, and obviously people think that his weak part out is his mentals because Ohio State's a very easy offense. It's like a one read offense, I think, is what I've heard. So
Okay,
it's not challenging to like read defense and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
that's somewhere you'd probably want Fields even to come in and learn for a year. But I think he's more NFL ready as far as he started 2 or 3 years at Ohio State.
No,
So
yeah.
he's been at that level, competing at a high level against good teams. So he's probably a little more NFL ready, whereas I think Fields has a higher upside.
You mean
But
Lance?
I mean, yeah, Lance. But I mean, we've even seen Fields. He's a good athlete.
No, yeah.
We've seen he had some of those. I remember the one throw against Clemson. I think we had like 50-yard dime on the dot to Olave
Yep.
in the end zone. It's not like he's got a weak arm. It's just that
No, he's got potential. I mean, they're obviously those 4 quarterbacks are the talk of the draft, anyways. So,
yeah.
um,
But obviously, team trading back is the Miami Dolphins, who moved back to 12, picked up a couple extra firsts in the future,
which is
and then used.
actually kind of crazy.
See, so I didn't like that trade for Miami because I didn't understand the need to move back from 3. Their weakest part right now is their offensive line and their pass rush. But there's no pass rush guys that are probably going to go top 10 because there's nobody that's like crazy this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously O lineman, there's that kid from Oregon, Panay Sewell, that's going to be he's not going to fall past the Bengals at 5. So they were sitting prime position to get him at 3, and so they moved back up using one of those firsts they got from San Fran. They moved back
Yeah.
up to 6. So they'll get probably the top wide receiver. I just think Miami needed a lineman more than they need a wide receiver. But
Mm.
yeah, Eagles traded back from 6 to 12, picked up a future first. I like the move for Philly. There's a lot of debate on who's the number 1 receiver between Smith, Waddle, and Chase, and then there's even Pitts out of Florida. So the Eagles trading back to 12. I think there's a very good chance they still get one of those 4 guys, and they had an extra first. So, yeah, I mean, I like the move. I don't think the Eagles are one wide receiver away from winning a Super Bowl.
No, yeah.
So I like the thought process of adding a pick. Plus, that extra first means that if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, the next year you have your own first round pick, you have the Dolphins first round pick, and if Wentz meets the criteria for the trade, they could have the Colts first round pick. So that gives them
Damn.
tons of ammo to
Three
move on.
first-round picks next year. That's crazy.
So if they like the roster outside of Hurts, they have 3 first round picks to move up into whatever pick they would need to get a quarterback.
And then if Jalen Hurts pans out, you guys got 3 picks to help him out in the
Yeah,
offense.
exactly. So I'd like to move for the Eagles. I love the move for the 49ers. And for the Dolphins, again, I don't like it, but it's not going to kill them because they still did add extra picks, and they do need a wide receiver. I just think they probably would have better served that offensive line with Sewell, but they have a ton of young linemen from last year. I think they have 3 or 4 rookies from last year. So
Yeah.
I guess the thought was just let them develop and kind of add a guy that can help Tua right away. I assume they're going to go one of the Alabama guys that he's comfortable with, but
Yeah.
who knows? There's a reason I'm sitting here doing this versus
Exactly. Dude, there's so
in the
much shit that we don't know in the office.
Yeah.
The war room, as they call it.
Yep.
Let's hop right into your rankings.
Yeah, so as of right now, was it March 28th or something like that?
March 28th, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got of the 32 teams, I've got 5 tiers. Like I said, great, good, average, bad, and failed. I guess we'll go. Let's go bottom to top.
All right.
I think the teams that have failed the offseason so far, and I try to take into account like the resources available.
Yeah.
So, for example, the Saints were 80 million under the cap. I'm not going to give them a bad grade just because they didn't add anybody and they lost a ton of guys.
Yeah.
They had to get rid of guys. So, kind of what you did with the situation you had. So, for failed, I'm going to say the Packers, pretty obvious.
Yep.
The Raiders, Titans, and Bears. Any disagreements on those or questions on those?
Didn't the Titans get Adoree Jackson? Or
No,
they
they
lost?
cut
They lost. Okay.
They lost him.
They
The Titans lost Smith, Corey Davis. They lost a couple of their defensive backs.
Yeah.
They've had some good additions, but that team's going to be a lot worse than last year.
Yeah, I agree with
so
that. I don't think they did any of those teams
And
did anything.
they weren't in like a horrible cap situation really to get rid of all these guys. I don't think they got better at any position. I think they might have gotten worse across the board except for like quarterback and running back.
Yeah, well, you can't get much worse or better than a running back. So
Well, you can get worse though. Is my point. You can get
well,
worse.
yeah.
And then the Bears. I like the addition of Andy Dalton but I just think they would have been better served because he's a 1-year deal. He's not $10 million better than Foles. I think I would rather have Foles in like a $7 million corner and a $3 million like backup lineman than just Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
And whoever else they got. But so yeah, I've got those teams as failed just because I think they could have done more with what they had.
Okay.
Teams I've got as bad. I'll say the Panthers, Bengals, Vikings, Falcons, Steelers, and Colts. Although the Vikings just added somebody else that I had
Patterson.
Oh, I didn't know about that one actually.
Not Cordell. Sorry, not Cordell. Patrick Peterson.
No, there was somebody else after that.
Oh, okay.
Because they added another defender. I'm forgetting who, but I remember I made these grades prior to whoever they signed on defense, so I probably should have bumped them up a little bit.
But yeah.
But yeah, so I probably the questionable one there is the Steelers, just because they had no resources. The main reason I have them there is I don't like them paying Juju and then having to cut Steven Nelson, one of their better corners, because of that. I don't think Juju over James Washington is bigger of a difference than Steven Nelson over whatever unproven corner they're going to be playing at number 2. So I think that the difference there, I think that's a bad decision for them, even though they got Juju on a good deal. They had to cut Steven Nelson to pay him. And then they paid Zach Banner, I think 2 years, $9 million, an offensive tackle that's had injury questions and they kind of like. But I think with that money, you could have just signed a more quality starter, even brought back the guy they had, Villanueva at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think they paid money to guys where they could have paid it elsewhere for better options.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got those teams as bad. Colts adding Wentz is I personally think a good decision, but they had some of the most cap space in the league and they've added like nobody new.
Who was that? Added nobody new.
The Colts.
Oh yeah.
Nobody big name that at least
aside from Wentz, but
yeah. So with the resources they had, their offseason was not good. Like they had their team probably would be better than last year, but again, they had a lot of money to make it like a literal Super Bowl contender or legitimate Super Bowl contender, but I don't think they've done that. And then for average, I've got 9 teams here, obviously middling teams kind of.
Yeah.
got the Texans, who have added a bunch of guys. They had a ton of money. They've added a bunch of guys, but they haven't added a ton of like star guys. They're just kind of added bodies. Um, the Jaguars, because they had the most cap space in the league, and I love the addition of Marvin Jones, but then they paid a lot of money to Roy Robertson Harris, who I do like, but they gave him a lot of money, and then Rashawn Jenkins at safety. So I just think they overpaid guys. Um, the Dolphins, because I don't know, they have no edge room. They cut Shaq Lawson, who isn't great, but might have been their best pass rusher. They cut Kyle Van Noy, who was one of their better pass rushers. So they just have no way to
He
get to the
went back to the
quarterback.
Patriots, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
So I just think that again, they're a team that they have a pretty complete roster. I just think they killed their edge room when it already wasn't great. And Will Fuller, I like the addition, but it's someone had a good point that he's a great deep threat. That's what he is. He's a deep threat.
Yeah.
And Tua is not a guy that's
Yeah,
throwing the ball
Tua
for
doesn't
50.
have a great deep arm. Like
So Will Fuller is a very good wide receiver. I don't think he matches with Tua. I think they would have been
they
better
might
served
they
getting.
might work out something though.
I mean, yeah, you never know. I just think that they probably could have gotten. I think honestly, like a Sammy Watkins for the price might have been a better
Yeah.
addition than Will Fuller, especially with Fuller also has the injury issues. He's
Mm-hmm.
also suspended for 2 games. So I don't know. I think I like the addition of Fuller, but I think it doesn't
The
necessarily
team
fit.
doesn't really match. Yeah.
So, and I've got the Eagles in here. I honestly considered even putting them in good because I personally, as an Eagles fan, like what they've done. I just also have to include having to trade away Wentz and who they hired as a head coach because it's an offseason grade.
Yeah.
So I love the addition of Anthony Harris. Yeah, I don't know. They haven't having to get rid of Wentz and then the head coach is just whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of brings them down a little bit. And then the Rams getting Stafford, I'm putting him on average because they paid Leonard Floyd $16 million a year. So they're taking a hit for that one.
Yeah.
So I guess the next one for good,
Mm-hmm.
I've got Broncos, Chargers, Cowboys, Cardinals, Giants, Bills, and Saints. So 7 teams in that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the Cowboys honestly have had an underrated offseason, aside from re-signing Dak, which I think was a good move. They
I
didn't
do
have
too.
much cap space, and they've added. Let me check real quick. I think they actually had like 15 to 20 million in cap space, which is a decent amount. They added probably 7 or 8 guys. Their biggest issue was their defensive backs. Obviously, last year that was their defense sucked.
Yeah.
They've added Keanu Neal from the Falcons, Jaron Kearse from the Saints, or from the Lions, who was not great last year, but 2 years ago for the Vikings looked like he was a promising young safety. And then Devontae Kazee for the Falcons, who a lot of people have liked. He was just injured a lot. Same with Keanu Neal. They added a couple other defensive linemen, Terrell Basham and Brett Urban. So again, none of these guys are big name guys. Also, Carlos Watkins from the Texans. Some of these guys are big name guys, but the odds of them being worse than what you had is pretty low.
Slim to none.
So
Yeah.
especially when you've added 3 linemen and 3 defensive backs, you're going to get 1 or 2 quality starters out of those 6, at least, at minimum. So I liked what they did with that offseason, given the money they had. And they obviously clearly harped on their defense. They added another swing tackle as well in there, which is always going to be helpful. But yeah, I really like what they've done. The Chargers, I like what the Chargers have done, man. Fixing that old lineup. They have Herbert. I'm not a huge fan of the head coach hiring Brandon Staley as a defensive guy, but they did have to cut some of their defensive guys to get under or to be able to afford some of these linemen.
Yeah.
So having a guy like Staley, that's always been my kind of thought in football is if you're a defensive head coach, get good offensive players so that you don't have to worry about that side of the ball. Like your offense can handle its business.
Yep.
And your defensive players may not be as good, but that's your scheme. So you're going to be able to get guys to fit your scheme that are maybe cheaper and like you can like work with them more than you'd be able to work with an offense. So that's always been my thought.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that they fixed their offense and tried to help out Herbert and then Staley's kind of they're kind of being a little hurt on defense more, but knowing they have Brandon Staley to control that. Who else was in here? The Saints, yeah, bringing back Hill and Winston. They're going to have their quarterback and then keeping Marcus Williams as safety.
Yep.
And they haven't lost any of the main guys on offense or on either side of the ball. So I think
somehow got under the cap.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to get those guys back and be under the cap, I think, is a solid off season for them.
What happens if they don't?
I can't remember. I would assume it's probably like fines and probably forfeiture of games if they're not under by certain times.
Damn.
But I don't know actually because no team's ever done that. Probably because ramifications are.
What happens if they have more? So what happens if they don't use all their cap space?
Well, that's fine. You don't have to use
No,
all
no,
of it.
no. I know, but what happens with that money? It just goes into next year.
It rolls over to next year, yeah.
Mm.
So that's actually why the Browns are going to be really competitive now, is because when they sucked, they were smart and they were hitting basically the minimum salary cap. So NFL has a minimum cap that way teams can't just spend like half the salary cap, so that next year you have
So
$100
much
million.
money. Yeah. Okay.
So they have a minimum. So the Browns are basically just getting to the minimum, so that every year they could just keep rolling over a ton of cap space. Um, so like right now, the Browns have a great roster and had like 30 million in cap space, which was like towards the top of the league.
Yeah.
So that's how they were able to get some of these guys.
Mm.
So that's what I think you'll start seeing teams do more and more of. As I don't remember if teams have done that in the past. I just remember hearing that the Browns did that, and it makes a lot of sense, and that's why they're so competitive with a lot of quality guys now. But yeah, the last tier teams that have had great, in my opinion, a great offseason. The Patriots, the Jets, the Buccaneers, the Washington football team, whose name will be
Hell
staying
yeah.
for one season.
They'll
The
be what?
Browns
What was it?
staying for one more season.
Oh.
They've said that already. The Browns and the 49ers. I think those teams have all had great off seasons for various reasons. It seems like the Bucks 49ers just keeping their rosters,
Yeah,
not
dude.
losing
They
guys.
kept. Dude, I don't think the Buccaneers lost to anybody, dude.
Yeah, I think I saw that they're going to be the first team, maybe in history, to return all 22 starters from the Super Bowl
That's
previous season.
literally insane.
First Super Bowl winning team to return all 22 guys.
That's crazy.
So, like, I mean, the odds of many of those guys getting worse is pretty low since they're not an older team.
No, they're like probably average age like 28. I bet. Like.
Yeah, Brady's probably like a third of that team's age.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then 49ers as well, bringing back Trent Williams, bringing back Kyle Juszczyk, bringing back Jason Verrett on defense.
And then obviously acquiring the third pick.
Yeah, Jaworski Tart at safety. And I did have them in good, and then because of that trade, I moved it to great because I think that's, again, like I said, they have a roster to compete right now. I don't know what guy they'd get at 12 that would like make them like that much better. So I think getting that guy for the future and like knowing, because like I said, Jimmy G might be the weakest point of that team. So I think getting your quarterback for the future, give him a year to learn. That's gonna be a dangerous team for a while because they're pretty young too for the most part, I guess.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, obviously the Patriots they've gotten better at every position basically. The Jets have had a few big additions, which we've covered in the last video. Washington, same thing, and then like I was just saying with the Browns, they've added some key guys on defense, which was their weak point. So I think those teams have killed free agency. So
the Patriots just took over.
Yeah, but so yeah, those would be my personal tiers. Should have done. I wish I did like we should have done like a tier maker. I wonder if that's a thing you can find.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
If there is, I'll make one and then you can clip it in here.
Clip it in here, yeah.
But so yeah, I posted some of that on Twitter. I had a couple comments about the Pats being an A+, and some of those people. I had one of the comments on Twitter was saying that they thought that me saying the Patriots had an A+ was like that they were the best team next year. And I was like, no, it doesn't mean the best team. It just means they had the best offseason.
Yeah, no.
That doesn't mean automatically the best team because he asked if I was that means he's like, oh, it means you're a believer in Cam Newton. I said, no, I'm not a believer in Cam Newton. But what
I don't think Cam Newton's anything. Like
they've given him an offense that will work around him. They've got running a good run game and they've got wide receivers that can make plays after the catch. And they've got a really good defense now.
Mm-hmm.
So they've given him a team around him that can work. And they're probably not gonna be the best team, but they're gonna be a lot more competitive than they were this year.
Oh, way more, dude.
So
they went like 500 last season.
So. Yeah, so when I clarified that I think they had killed the offseason, but they're not going to be the best team by far, he was like, oh, okay. But we also started a Twitter page for those who haven't realized yet.
I was just about to say. So what he's talking about, we made a brand new Twitter account, The Weekly Insider. It's at @weekly_insider_. I will tag it below. Check that out. Go follow us on Twitter. Tyler mainly posts on it. I kind of just look at the stuff he posts, but he likes to talk about all this shit on there.
My main Twitter is private, so this gives me a platform to just kind of tweet my opinions.
Exactly, so it's perfect. So go check it out. Go see what Tyler's got going on. He's mainly runs the Twitter account. That's all him. But thank you. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments on our list of good, bad, and average, leave it below. And you guys have a wonderful night.
Follow Twitter.
Go follow the Twitter. Thanks for watching. Go Eagles. Go Bills. Bills Mafia. Whatever. Later. Peace.
Gator.
Later, skater, gator. Gatorade.
Haterade.